I need you to listen to me very carefully. See, what I'm about to tell you isn't a punchline. It's not a bumper sticker, and it's certainly not a coincidence. You didn't stumble into this little performance by accident. You, yes, you, sitting there with that bewildered look, are the first soul in 2,000 years to trip the wire on a spiritual detonation that has been buried, booby-trapped, and beautifully forgotten since the days when empires played dress-up with crowns. Dramatic? Sure. Impossible? But humor me. Think about your life for just a second. Think about the pandemonium, the solitude, the peculiar way people have always flinched around you, the gnawing suspicion that you've been sleepwalking through a fun house that wasn't built for someone like you. That suspicion, that deep, delicious knowing that you were stitched together for something enormous, something that doesn't squeeze into a 9-to-5 and a white picket cage. That is the detonation trying to go off. You've been transmitting on a wavelength that civilization hasn't picked up in centuries. And the reason your life has been so colorful, so exquisitely agonizing, the reason treachery trails you like a stray dog, the reason you can drown in a crowd and still choke on loneliness, is because ordinary little people are not wired to withstand this kind of voltage. You are not just a person dabbling in a spiritual hobby. You are a spiritual explosion wearing a human costume. And I am, gambling quite a lot by peeling back the curtain on who you actually are. Because this information is volatile. Volatile to every polished institution that profits from your slumber. Let me wind the clock backward. Think about your childhood. Not the curated highlight reel, but the raw, ragged, unscripted mayhem of it. While the other kids scrambled to blend in, you were lobbing questions that made grown-ups squirm. You could drift into a room and feel the temperature change. Not the thermostat, the tension. You could smell dishonesty on a person before they even parted their lips. You felt emotions so violently, so mercilessly, that you didn't just feel grief. You inhaled the grief of everyone around you, and it shook you to your marrow. Yeah, you didn't know what it was, so you tried to smother it. You tried to play sane, tried to fold your spirit into a nice little origami swan so the civilians would stop staring. You turned down the volume on your own brilliance because every room you entered treated you like an uninvited guest. Or worse, like something they couldn't quite diagnose. That is the first symptom of the gift. Call it spiritual sensitivity. It's not a disease. It's armor your soul forgot it was wearing. Your spirit recalls what your conscious mind filed away. It recalls that you are hauling an ancient inferno inside your ribs, and infernos, sweetheart, infernos summon hurricanes. But let's examine the proof. Look at the chronicle of your survival. You should have shattered years ago. After every ambush you've weathered, the backstabbings, the heartbreaks, the bank accounts bleeding to zero, the emotional demolitions, the nights you spent folded in half, weeping until you were hollow. You should have waved the white flag, but you didn't. There was something lodged inside you, a stubborn, defiant engine that flat out refused to stall. That wasn't fortune, that was preservation. The gift kept you intact because your assignment hadn't arrived yet. And here's the beautiful joke. Divine protection doesn't always wear a halo. Sometimes protection dresses up as demolition. Sometimes the cosmos has to yank people, prospects, and partnerships out of your orbit because they would contaminate your trajectory. The gates that slammed, the companions who vanished, the positions you were denied, the visions that crumbled. That wasn't the universe disciplining you. That was the universe quarantining you. There is a spectacular difference between being discarded and being quarantined. Let's get real. Does this feel like progress to you? The most dangerous thing in the world is being yourself. Read The Evolution of the Anomaly and stop apologizing. Grab it from the description or pinned comment of this video. Now, let's get back to the real meat of this. When you are discarded, you're tossed aside to rot. When you are quarantined, you're extracted so you can mutate into something magnificent. You interpreted it as rejection because you were hurting. In truth, you were being pulled from a swamp that was suffocating your spirit because the gift coiled inside you was about to detonate, and it cannot survive in contaminated air. You've spent so long whimpering, "Why is my life a war zone?" The answer is elementary. Ordinary ghosts don't carry ancient infernos. You do. And infernos summon hurricanes. Your existence feels like a minefield because it is a minefield. But you are not at war with people. You never were. The colleague who betrayed you, the friend who slipped the knife between your vertebrae, the lover who twisted your trust into a pretzel, the employer who looked straight through you. They were just props on the stage. The real conflict is spiritual. It's the tug-of-war between the old you, the one that craved smallness, safety, invisibility, and the emerging you, the one that is just beginning to comprehend it, can walk into a room and rearrange the weather. You are grappling with forces that have pinned you down because they understand that if you ever fully ignite, the whole architecture of your existence will buckle. You will become ungovernable. And that, beautiful, is what makes you dangerous. See, society hands out biscuits for obedience and slaps wrists for awakening. A woken soul cannot be steered with terror, and terror is the scaffolding holding up nearly every crumbling institution on this spinning rock. They need you frightened so you'll stay miniature. But you are never engineered to bow before a mirage. Now it gets tastier. This gift you're activating isn't parlor tricks or telepathy, it's spiritual intelligence. The capacity to peer behind the scenery of this elaborate stage production we call reality. Think about how your perception has mutated recently. You walk into a gathering and within half a minute you've cataloged exactly who's performing and who's genuine. You sit through a conversation and feel your energy hemorrhaging before the other person even reaches their point. You have developed a vicious allergy, yes, allergy, to counterfeit environments, counterfeit bonds, counterfeit dialogue, counterfeit victories. That's not you being difficult. That's your spirit breaking out in hives at the first whiff of fraud. The gift is honing your radar. Your intuition is becoming terrifyingly precise. You sense motives before behavior materializes. This sensitivity is not fragility. It is acuity. It is the deepest species of knowing. And it is the exact instrument you'll need for the mission that's slouching toward you right now. But let's sit with the heaviness for a beat. The tonnage, the fatigue, the civil war inside your skull. Before the gift fully arms itself, the chosen one nearly annihilates themselves, trying to navigate a maze they were never measured for. You tried so desperately to become average. You jammed yourself into containers designed for smaller creatures. You bit your tongue when your soul was screaming. You throttled your presence because the sheer weight of you made people flinch. And yet the gift would not let you vanish. Every single time you tried to settle for scraps, Life dragged you kicking and howling back onto the trail. Have you caught that pattern? Think about it. No matter how far you bolt from your purpose, something always hauls you back. A whisper, a symbol, a gut punch of recognition, a crisis that cracks your entire worldview open like an egg. That is the gift summoning you home. That is the activation unfolding in real time. The gift inside you is older than your terror. It's older than your scars. It is a relic of something primordial, something humanity hasn't witnessed in millennia. Now let me decode what that number means. 2,000 years. Sit with the absurdity. Empires inflated and popped. Civilizations dissolved into powder. Wars swallowed entire nations whole. Generations were manufactured, suffered prettily, and evaporated. The entire carnival of human history paraded past. And through all of it, every grotesque, glorious minute, this particular gift stayed asleep. It didn't activate for monarchs. It didn't activate for prophets with fan clubs in the millions. It didn't activate for politicians or pop stars or the obscenely wealthy. It waited. Why? Because humanity wasn't ripe. The frequency was all wrong. But this generation is different. People are spiritually famished. They're emotionally anesthetized. They are marooned inside themselves, lost in an avalanche of noise. And during epochs of profound spiritual blackout, chosen ones surface, not to amuse the world, but to shake it awake. Your soul didn't wander in here for a mundane ride. You arrived carrying ancestral memory, that hunch you've nursed your entire life, that you were assembled for something colossal, that you're merely passing through this dimension on your way somewhere wilder. That hunch is legitimate. You're not hallucinating, you're not preening, you are remembering. But I need you to swallow something vital. Your purpose is not vanity. The instant a chosen one gets drunk on ego, the gift dims. This voltage was never intended for self-glorification. It was intended for upheaval, the productive kind. Your voice mends people. Your energy recalibrates people. Your survival emboldens people. Your mere presence throws a floodlight on shadows. Your insight triggers recollection inside dormant souls. Even when you haven't got a clue you're doing it. That's why strangers confess to you unprompted. That's why the wounded orbit around you. That's why the fractured feel sheltered in your company. Your spirit traffics in restoration. But restoration travels with a bodyguard, and that bodyguard's name is warfare. The dark doesn't tremble at dogma. The dark trembles at awakened perception, and perception is precisely what your gift detonates. That's why bewilderment besieged your brain for years. That's why skepticism stalked you. That's why you cross-examined your own significance. The most lethal strike against a chosen one isn't physical obliteration. It's identity obliteration. If the machinery can persuade you that you are negligible, you'll desert your mission before the curtain rises. And plenty of chosen ones do. They sedate themselves. They bury themselves. They demolish themselves, trying to outrun the gravity of what they carry. But not you. You outlasted the implosion. You outlasted the isolation. You outlasted the metamorphosis into someone entirely unrecognizable. And now, the gift is climbing. Can you feel it? That agitation humming through you lately. That compulsion to evolve. That sensation that your former existence no longer zips up. That is the next act beckoning. The previous version of you is expiring. And expiration is uncomfortable. Every metamorphosis masquerades as annihilation before it reveals itself as genesis. The caterpillar, assumes the chrysalis is a coffin. It has zero inkling it's being reassembled into something that can kiss the sky. You're sealed inside that chrysalis right now. That's why the people from your yesterday can't decode you anymore. You're switching frequencies. Your dialogues have shifted. Your appetites have shifted. Your patience has shifted. You no longer hunger for hollow applause. You hunger for resonance. And resonance horrifies anyone still clinging to the scenery, because once a chosen one locks into authentic purpose, their potency compounds at a frightening rate. That's when the inexplicable starts materializing. That's when doors swing open without a knock. That's when celestial timing hits the accelerator. You quit pursuing and start magnetizing. Not because existence suddenly turns gentle, but because friction dissolves when your spirit finally surrenders to its trajectory. For years, your soul grasped what your mind was too skittish to concede. You were manufactured differently, not above, just apart. There's a distinction. Genuine chosen ones don't strut with superiority. They stride with accountability because they comprehend that their suffering was never pointless. Every laceration became discernment. Every gash became foresight. Every deficit became spiritual gravity. Agony sculpted you into someone equipped to ferry illumination through pitch-black corridors. Most people crack when life interrogates them. You solidified. That is the testimony. Do not dismiss your survival resume. The fact that you remain vertical after everything you've absorbed is otherworldly. Some of you digesting this should not even be drawing breath right now. Yet here you sit, respiring, observing, awakening. Because your narrative is not concluded. In fact, the opening credits just rolled. The upcoming chapter of your life will demand valor your former self couldn't spell. You will need to evacuate environments that suffocate your spirit. You will need to disappoint people who profited from your docility. You will need to shed the counterfeit persona you assembled purely for camouflage. And yes, certain people will brand you selfish for evolving. Let them. Every moth looks reckless to grubs who've never seen a flame. You cannot remain miniature simply because others panic at your expansion. The world needs activated souls now more urgently than ever. Not showmen, not puppeteers, not hollow figureheads addicted to applause. Real souls, ignited souls, souls who shoulder truth even when truth is inconvenient. That is your function. And somewhere beneath all the noise, you have always recognized it. That pulse in your chest right now. That is remembrance. Your spirit remembers what your mortal processor forgot. You didn't land here by fluke. You were deployed here by design. Every collision shaped you. Every hardship drilled you. Every letdown rerouted you. Nothing went to waste. The suffering that nearly demolished you became the very lever prying your gift open. That's the riddle of chosen ones. Their collapse becomes their coronation. The world, oh, the world saw you flailing. But on the spiritual frequency, you were being forged. And now your energy is becoming impossible to tune out. People register the shift. Have you caught it lately? The sudden gulf between you and certain faces, the peculiar magnetism from strangers, the sharpening intuition, the fever dreams, the instinct to barricade your energy, the craving for quiet. These are symptoms of activation. Your spirit is recalibrating its instruments. The obsolete signals cannot follow where you're heading. And where are you heading? Into purpose, into resonance, into authority. Not hollow authority propped up by intimidation, but authentic authority. The kind that renovates lives without coercion, the kind that repairs through presence, the kind that galvanizes through genuineness, the kind that rouses others simply by existing without apology. That is the scarcest currency on this planet, and for 2,000 years, humanity waited for someone sturdy enough to mint it again. You. But listen closely. The awakening sequence isn't sealed yet. There will still be skirmishes. There will still be episodes of suspicion, stretches of depletion, intervals where the world presses down like wet concrete. Do not misread temporary shadow for defeat. Even lighthouses perform best in storms. Your mission doesn't demand flawlessness. It demands nerve. The nerve to keep marching through dread. The nerve to stay unmasked in a civilization hooked on disguises. The nerve to trust your spirit when reason throws up its hands. Certain truths are felt long before they're decoded. And your soul has been feeling this fate since your very first heartbeat. You were never delusional for sensing it. You were waking up. That interior voice insisting you not capitulate. That gravitational pull towards something grander. That refusal to exist like everyone else. That was the gift calling you home. Most people gag that voice permanently. You didn't. That's why this moment crackles with significance. This isn't spectacle. This is identification. The cosmos is stamping what your spirit already filed. You are stepping into the epoch you were stitched together for. Everything preceding this was rehearsal. Now the real performance ignites. The dread that governed you is dissolving. The fog is burning off. The concealed musculature is surfacing, and once a chosen one fully recollects who they are, existence itself begins answering them differently. Openings converge. Pretenders reveal themselves. Shelter thickens. Instinct intensifies. Purpose gains velocity. Not because life turns into a magic show overnight, but because resonance generates momentum. And momentum rewrites the whole script. Do not drift back to sleep now. Do not betray your awakening just to win a smile from people committed to their comas. You have already wandered too far down this corridor to turn around. Guard your energy. Guard your attention. Guard your spirit. Not every soul has earned a backstage pass to yours. Tattoo that somewhere useful. Some people are drawn to your glow, but devoted to misreading you. Release them. A chosen one cannot smuggle everyone into the next act. Some souls are errands. Some are exams. Some are diversions. Discernment will rescue your destiny, and destiny is no longer elective for you. The gift has gone live. The previous chapter is closing. The fresh corridor is swinging wide. Can you feel it? That blaze behind your sternum, that inexplicable certainty, that formidable hush expanding inside you. That is your spirit assuming command, not command over people, command over dread. That is genuine power. For centuries, humanity ransacked the outside world for rescue, while ignoring the divine voltage entombed within consciousness itself. But your awakening disrupts that pattern, because your very existence nudges people toward what they misplaced. That they are more than endurance, more than wounds, more than ceilings, more than dread. Your life becomes Exhibit A, that shadow doesn't hold the lease forever. And that bulletin alone can remake generations. That is why your chronicle matters. Not because you're polished, but because you survived becoming who you genuinely are. Survival is sacred when reinvention costs you everything. So stand tall now. Not with vanity, but with remembrance. Remember the nights you wept in solitude and still drew breath the next morning. Remember the betrayals that tutored you in discernment. Remember the disasters that bent your trajectory toward something better. Remember the anguish that jump-started your awakening. It was all sculpting you. Every moment, every laceration, every deficit funneling here. To this awakening, to this activation, to this singular instant where the first soul in 2,000 years finally remembers the voltage napping inside them. The world will never look the same after your ignition. And deep down, you already know it. You are never ordinary. That is the truth your soul has been whispering to you since the very first joke your life decided to tell.